Welcome back to another Planet Zoo video, and we are back building in Newtropic Zoo. In this episode we're going to be creating a habitat with an underwater viewing area. And the animal we're going to be creating this habitat for is the Pygmy Hippo. That's right, we are back in Planet Zoo and in Newtropic Zoo building this underwater viewing area habitat, that was a mouthful, for the Pygmy Hippo. Something what I've not already built in this zoo, but I have built it before, and I know that a lot of people do struggle with underwater viewing areas and building them in Planet Zoo. So this is kind of like a speed build video and a tutorial video in one if you do get stuck. It's quite simple, just design your habitat however you want with the in-game habitat glass barriers, and then all you have to do is heighten your terrain. You can do that using the terrain stamp, or you can do that like I've done it here, just with the normal terrain tool, and just pull that terrain up so it's above where you want it to be, and just add the water. It's literally as simple as that. Just make sure that your barriers are going into the terrain itself, and it will act as a barrier between the terrain and the glass barriers. It will form that gap, and that gap is where you put your water in. You might not be able to get your water all the way to the top, so think about the height of your barriers, your glass barriers, when building them. I need a ramp now, so that's what I'm going to do. I need these animals to be able to actually get in the habitat, so let's start creating the hard shelter, the body of the main building, and the ramp of access. And when I built that ramp and I did a little bit of filling around, this is what I came up with. You can see I've really took that terrain back. Don't worry, your animals will traverse over objects or over building pieces like my plaster piece you can see here. Your animals will still traverse over them. You don't actually need terrain. So it's time to build up that kind of like main building. This is going to be the main structure. It's going to provide a little bit of privacy for our Pygmy Hippos, but we are going to create a separate zone, a backstage area, where our Pygmy Hippos can get the privacy they need, and will they be going to be able to sleep as well, because it is quite an open area this, and we do want to be able to make sure that our animals still get a little bit of privacy when needed. Now this building was quite simple. Of course, we're building in Newtropic Zoo, and by the way, if you're new around here, it's a modern zoo based in the grasslands of Africa, so we needed to keep that same theme with the modern aspects, and that's why I'm building it like this. We're going to use the same color schemes that we used, kind of like the natural plaster piece walls and the dark grey plaster piece walls. Combine those two colors together to give that modern look and to make sure it looks like it fits in the zoo, which a large structure like this can result in not fitting in the zoo, but I do pull it off in the end. I am happy how it came out looking. Unfortunately, this is not going to be on the zoo workshop page, because could you imagine placing this on as a workshop item, as a blueprint? It'd be almost impossible with pathing and all kinds of stuff, because the amount of terrain work it took and the body of water, it could be a nightmare. So it's not going to be on there, but I have got an underwater viewing area habitat. Keep struggling to say that on my Steam workshop, so go and search that if you do want that. But I do encourage you to build your own, and hopefully with these tips and watching this video, this speed build video, the Pygmy Hippo one, you will find it easier to build stuff like this, especially with console coming out. So that's right, if you are currently a console player watching this, or you know you're anticipated for the console release and I can't get my words out today, in anticipation for the release, you're watching Planet Zoo PC videos, then you are going to struggle building stuff like this. Make sure you're doing the tutorial, guys. Make sure you're doing those tutorials, those career modes. Right, we just need to box off this kind of like indoor area here. This is going to be the access, and it's going to separate the backstage area to the front stage area and the guest viewing area. And ignore that gap, that terrain poking out. You will get stuff like this, but honestly, just cover your gaps. I will be covering this gap in foliage, in rock work and foliage, and it will look like it was never there in the first place. Sometimes you just got to cover stuff in Planet Zoo. If you can't get rid of it, cover it. It's as simple as that. Just bulking out this area now and making sure everything is symmetrical, and making sure that our gap at the back is big enough for our animals to actually traverse down. The hitboxes in Planet Zoo can be quite large, so try to leave a significant gap for the animals to traverse from, well, from wherever they want to put them. Let's add the backing to this animal bridge here. and this slope. And if you keep seeing me zooming out, it's me just having a look at what everything looks like. Is everything fitted? And it didn't look right. I thought, this gap, what do I do with it? I was going to add glass, but I thought mesh would look better and be more suitable. It stops like leaves and stuff falling in from trees and guests throwing stuff into the habitat, doesn't it? And yeah, I thought it looked like it was the best idea to do anyway for the top. Once it was done, it looked like this. You can see the water has been changed. You can change the colour of the water. All you have to do is click on it to a more tropical look. And I've layered the floor down, and on the left you can see I've filled the gaps and I've extended the foliage onto kind of like a custom made planter there, and we've added these trellises. Well, they're kind of like trellises, I believe. If I just go into them, yeah, they are from the aquatic pack, these, and they are the planted foliage, and I've just layered them onto the wall to break up the wall a little bit. I wanted something a little bit unique. I've done this technique throughout the zoo on other buildings, and I thought with such a large surface area I needed some foliage and something a little bit different to cover it. All we have to do to cover the other side is duplicate, rotate it and move it over. Right, inside. We've already laid the floor of the outside, so it's time to lay the floor of the inside of the habitat, the underwater viewing. And I did this again with plaster pieces, just being very careful to layer them out and get the curvature there that we needed. And once we've got one, it's very easy to duplicate them over and get others. But we're going to create kind of like a base as well to these glass barriers, and we're going to hide stuff. It's, like I said, sometimes it's all about filling gaps and hiding stuff. By doing this, not only does it look better because we've got an actual foundation for the glass barrier, but we're hiding any pokey out bits from the inside plaster pieces of the underwater floor, if that makes sense. And then once we've got one piece, like I said, we've got them all we have to do now is duplicate this over, and we can add it to each window. But first we're going to add a pole and cover these. I really don't like these poles, these from the barrier, from the in-game barrier. They just don't look right. We've got the thick barrier what I could have used, but I thought I'm going to create my own and just cover these to create a custom barrier. Just need to duplicate this over now to the other side and line everything up. Once you've lined everything up, all we have to do is just duplicate it over once you've grouped it. And we're going to do this throughout the whole of the exterior, making sure everything looks the same and fits in. Once that were done, we wanted to build the backstage area. Obviously, this is where the animals are going to get some privacy, so our lovely Pygmy Hippos can hide away from our guests. I wanted to create a wall what I've already created. Again, it adds to the same theme, does it? And I just thought something with water, you would expect something with tile. I don't know what I mean by that, honestly. It's a bit like a swimming pool. Once I'm focusing on water, but in my head I can see like tiles as well, like you would do in a swimming pool environment. So I thought I'm going to add a tile wall. So that's what I did, and we're just going to add it to this backstage area. Well, it's still quite a large area. I've got a funny feeling that these Pygmy Hippos are going to have a lot of traversable area here. I'm just hoping that the water is enough for them and the depth of the water is enough for them, because they can be a bit of a pain in the ass with that. And 1 second, let me just take a sip of my coffee here. Doesn't help when it's freezing cold and you forgot about it for the last hour, Adam, because you've been recording videos. Anyway, that wasn't such a nice brew. Now, don't get me wrong, I like cold coffee, but when it's meant to be cold coffee. I don't like making a hot coffee, waiting for it to go cold and then drinking it. It's just not the same as drinking like an iced latte, is it? It needs to be done properly, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm just proper got off on a tangent on coffee then. You know, if you know me, you know I love my coffee. Right, the roof is very simple. We're going to keep with the same colour scheme. I keep saying that, don't I? But that's what I keep doing. I'm going to delete the gap so we can actually get our animals up and down the ramp what we created to the outside bit. And that is pretty much the backstage area done. We're going to fill these disgusting gaps in a minute with more foliage and rockwork. And yeah, but we need to delete all these pieces here, what helped us create the roof. And then we just need to move some pieces as well, any pokey out bits, hide or move, so it just looks flush. And then we're going to extend these tiles again so it looks flush. It looks like the side tiles are digging in to our bottom tiles as well. Not our bottom tiles, sorry, our side tiles are digging into the other side tiles of the other wall. Sometimes you just got to move things around a little bit. Right, we're going to mess about with this roof. We're going to lower it down so we've got a flooring just like that. So we've got a roof and then we've got a flooring. Very easy way to add a custom floor that. And then we need to think about our habitat gate, don't we? Where I want our habitat gate to be. and we're going to put it on this side. We're going to dig out an area and we're just going to slightly, ever so carefully, make sure we line everything up like that. And then we're just going to run a null barrier and join it on to the glass barrier. It's as simple as that when you're creating these underwater viewing areas. And a lot of people do get stumped with them. When I first started playing, I did get stumped with them as well. And I saw other creators on YouTube creating them. I thought, how the hell have they done that? But it's literally just getting your null barriers and connecting them to the glass barriers. Make sure you've got your habitat gate in. Make sure you got all the way around the outside of the habitat. Connect it to the glass barrier on the other side. And your habitat gate is complete. For the inside of the underwater viewing area, we just needed to add some underwater foliage. So all I did was filter down the foliage to subaquatic foliage and just create this group here, this group. And we're just going to duplicate this together and then we can just move it and place it how we want. And it's so much easier to cover the surface area. And yeah, just have it how you want. And how easy is this? And here we are, the habitat is complete, our pygmy hippos are in said habitat, and you will notice some things have been added and some things have been changed, so let me give you the grand tour. You will see one of the major additions that I've added is this talk point. But hold the phone, I've just noticed one of our pygmy hippos walking underwater under one of our bridges we created. I'm sorry, but how cute are these little fellows? And it looks like our guests have got an amazing view. But yeah, I've added this animal talk point. I've added this little design on the floor, a little canopy area to provide a little bit of shade for our guest and for our staff member when the animal talk is going on. And it's kind of like the main point of this habitat, really, isn't it? That is kind of like the main viewing area. You've got around here and stuff, and you've got some guests going around the back, and it is near enough a 360 viewing area, really, isn't it? But I wanted like a main focal point. You can see I've added a little bit of foliage here out of planters. I literally just went over to my other planters, grabbed them and put them in, and it just works really well, and it keeps with the same theme as well. And we've got these as well. If you remember, these are actually from over here where the splash zone is and the plaza area is, where our guests can chill out. They're not functional, but they look good, don't they? And from the top, you can see the entirety of this build. I've added a little bit more foliage in the underwater part. And then at the background, I've actually left this burr for now. And I've left something else burr. And the reason I do this, I want to try to get you guys, if you've lasted this long in this video, thank you very much. But I want your opinion. Because if you have lasted this long, you are a dedicated viewer and probably a subscriber. But if you're not, you probably should subscribe. Hint, hint. Like the button as well if you're liking the video. But yeah, I want your opinion. What should I put on the outside of this? Shall I put some seating? Shall I put some foliage and rockwork? I would probably myself just put foliage and rockwork to fill these gaps in. But I'm a bit stuck and I want your help. I want to get you involved a little bit more in this zoo. And then the inside, I've just put bedding down. But what do you suggest? Do you suggest me extending this maybe, moving out the path and building a full backstage area, a bit like this, like we did with the aardvarks, like a full-on backstage area? Or do you think the building just looks good as it is? Let me know in the comments section below. Just quickly on the inside, I kept it very bare, apart from adding the necessary enrichment items and then covering them to make they look like they fit in. We've got the enrichment items in there as well and everything they need, and the pygmy hippos are very happy as well. Just look how Newtropic Zoo is now forming. It's getting larger and larger, and I'm still really enjoying building in it. But with this pygmy hippo habitat complete, that completes this video. Like I always say, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.